Amelia Harding never imagined she would one day find herself wearing a uniform inside her own daughter's house. Yet, here she stood, dressed in a simple gray dress with a crisp white collar, a uniform her daughter Clara had insisted she wear. Clara claimed it was to make Amelia look professional when guests came over, but Amelia saw it differently. Professional? After nearly 40 years as a respected high school principal, navigating the toughest challenges in education, Amelia had mastered professionalism like no other. Raising Clara alone after the sudden loss of her husband had required not just professionalism, but a resilience and dignity few could understand. And yet now, financial ruin had wiped out her retirement savings, and she stood in her daughter's home not as family, but as hired help. The words Clara had spoken 3 weeks ago still rang sharply in Amelia's ears. I don't feed extra mouths. When Amelia had asked to stay temporarily while she got back on her feet, Clara's tone left no room for compassion. It was business, a deal between employer and employee. I need help with the children and the house. I could hire you as our nanny. You'd earn your keep, and it would solve both our problems. Amelia had stared at her daughter, wondering when the kind, loving child she raised had become someone so cold. But she swallowed her pride and said, That sounds practical. When do you want me to start? So began Amelia's new life in the guest room at the back of Clara's spacious home in one of the city's most affluent neighborhoods. Clara was a successful real estate agent now, and her husband Ethan managed a hedge fund. Their 3 children, Sophie, 10, Max, 8, and little Ella, 4, had every material advantage. But Amelia quickly noticed what was missing: emotional warmth. Adjusting her uniform and straightening her glasses, Amelia caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her silver hair, once a proud badge of her distinguished career, now felt like a symbol of her diminished role. But beneath the surface, her mind was as sharp as ever, shaped by years of experience managing school politics, parental conflicts, and educational crises. Clara seemed to have forgotten, or perhaps ignored, the strength and skill her mother truly possessed. Before we dive in, quick question: where are you watching from? Whether it's your kitchen, a quiet park bench, or late at night on your phone. I'm really glad you're here. If this story hits home, brings back memories, or makes you think, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Stories like this need to be heard. Maybe someone out there needs to know they're not alone. All right, now let me take you back to where it all began. The sharp call of Clara's voice brought Amelia back to the present. Amelia, the Hendersons will arrive in 20 minutes, and Ella is still in her play clothes. Get her changed right away into the outfit I laid out. Of course, Amelia replied calmly, heading to the youngest child's room. Passing Clara in the hallway, resplendent in an expensive designer dress and glittering diamonds, Amelia noted the barely concealed impatience in her daughter's eyes. Clara was already focused on the evening's social event, a dinner party with the Henderson family, key figures whose favor could open doors for both Ethan's hospital project and Clara's ambitions in the real estate world. Clara had explained earlier, her voice thick with determination. Mr. Henderson sits on the hospital board, and Mrs. Henderson chairs the summer gala committee. Ethan needs Jonathan's support for his hospital project, and I need Diana's backing for the gala committee. This dinner is crucial. What Clara didn't realize, or perhaps chose to ignore, was that Amelia had served on that very hospital board for 15 years before retiring. Jonathan Henderson had been a young doctor when Amelia had helped secure funding for his pioneering research. Diana Henderson and Amelia had worked together on programs connecting the hospital with local schools. This wasn't just any family Amelia had married into. It was a network she knew well, a world Clara was only beginning to navigate. Amelia's first week in her new role was a crash course in who Clara had become, and the household dynamics she now had to manage. Clara rose every day at 6 a.m., spending precisely 30 minutes with the children at breakfast before passing off all parental duties to Amelia. The instructions Clara left were as detailed as military orders. Max must practice piano for 45 minutes before any screen time. Sophie has ballet at 4, but she'll try to claim she's too tired. Don't let her manipulate you. Ella naps at exactly 1 p.m. Not a minute later, or bedtime will be a nightmare. Groceries must be organic, but watch for sales. The budget is tight this month. The stark contrast between Clara's designer heels and her frugal grocery management wasn't lost on Amelia. Ethan, Clara's husband, was mostly absent, leaving before the children woke and returning after they went to bed. When home, his attention was divided between his phone and the sports games blaring on the TV in his private study. His politeness toward Amelia was distant, as if she were merely Clara's problem and not family. Yet, the children surprised Amelia. Beneath Sophie's prickly, defiant exterior was a sensitive girl who wrote poetry she hid under her mattress. Max's obsession with video games masked a musical talent that blossomed with a little encouragement. Ella, too young to hide her affection, showered Amelia with love that stirred bittersweet memories of Clara at the same age. By the third day, Amelia began noting patterns and dynamics within the family. By the fifth day, she was gently testing subtle changes, minor shifts in routines and emotional tone. By the end of the week, she had mapped the fragile cracks beneath Clara's carefully constructed life. Week 2 brought unexpected social encounters. One afternoon, while supervising Ella in the backyard, Amelia heard a voice calling over the fence. "You must be Amelia Harding. We've heard so much about you." Amelia turned to see Pamela Saracen, her next-door neighbor. "All good things, I hope," Amelia replied with a warm smile. Pamela nodded. "Clara mentioned you're helping with the children. It's wonderful to have family support." Amelia noticed the curiosity in Pamela's eyes. "I don't think Clara mentioned what you did before retirement." "I was in education," Amelia said simply, gauging her reaction. "Westfield High? You couldn't be Amelia Harding? My oldest son had you as principal for 26 years. He still talks about you. David graduated in 2008 and is now a cardiothoracic surgeon at Mass General. You wrote him the most wonderful college recommendation." Amelia smiled, touched. "Please give him my regards." Pamela's surprise was genuine. "I can't believe Clara never told us." "Clara felt it was better if I earned my keep," Amelia said lightly. Pamela's expression said it all. Disbelief mixed with silent judgment. Clara had deliberately spun a story that minimized Amelia's true role. Similar scenes unfolded as Amelia ran errands and took the children to activities. Each encounter began with recognition, followed by confusion and barely concealed dismay at Amelia's current situation. But Amelia remained dignified and strategically honest, gently revealing her past achievements and present reality. "Principal Harding, what are you doing with the Monroe children?" a teacher once asked. "Helping my daughter temporarily," Amelia replied carefully. "Financial setbacks, you know how it is. Clara kindly offered me employment as their nanny." These moments planted seeds in Clara's social circle, seeds of doubt that would soon blossom into consequences Clara never expected. By the third week, Amelia had built connections with key players in Clara's social world. Charlotte Winters, chair of the coveted Garden Club; James Peterson, whose wife led the hospital gala committee Clara desperately wanted to join; and even Elaine Montgomery, Clara's real estate broker and mother of a student Amelia had championed. One day at the supermarket, Elaine exclaimed, "Amelia! I had no idea you were Clara's mother. Why are you doing her grocery shopping?" Amelia smiled, the subtext clear. "I live here now. I help with the children in the house." Elaine looked puzzled. "I thought Clara said you were traveling through Europe during your retirement." Amelia's faint smile didn't waver. "Unfortunately, my financial advisor made some poor choices." Elaine's gaze sharpened. "Well, Clara is lucky to have you." "Indeed," Amelia replied mildly, "though I do miss my independence." That evening, as Amelia prepared dinner and Clara reviewed listings, Clara asked with unusual interest, "Did you see Elaine Montgomery at the market today?" "We had a nice chat," Amelia said. "She's a parent at Westfield High. Her daughter Melissa earned a full scholarship to Princeton." Clara's face tightened. "What did you talk about?" "Oh, this and that," Amelia replied lightly. "She was surprised to see me doing your shopping." Tension hung thick in the air. "Mom, please don't discuss our arrangement with my professional contacts," Clara snapped. "Our arrangement? You mean my employment?" Amelia said innocently. "You wanted me to look professional for your guests," Clara said sharply, "but you don't need to explain why you're staying here." "I see," Amelia said, returning to chopping vegetables. "Would you prefer I keep telling people I'm traveling in Europe? That seems to be the story." Clara flushed. "I don't want rumors about our financial situation. People talk." "They certainly do," Amelia agreed. The next day's dinner party loomed. Clara's ambitions were clear, but Amelia had her own plan, and the city's eyes were about to open wide. The evening air was crisp. As Amelia prepared herself quietly in the guest room she now called her own, though it felt more like a temporary shelter than a home. The uniform she wore, a simple gray dress with a white collar, felt heavy with unspoken meaning. Each thread seemed to carry the weight of years of dignity stripped away, yet Amelia held her head high. She knew the game Clara was playing, but she was determined to write the rules anew. Downstairs, Clara moved with purpose and precision, dressed immaculately in a designer gown, her hair and makeup flawless. The gleam of her diamond earrings caught the light as she rehearsed the evening in her mind. Every handshake, every compliment, every subtle nod toward opportunity. This dinner was a key moment in her ascent, a chance to secure backing for Ethan's ambitious hospital development, and to cement her social standing with the elite of Westfield. Amelia descended the stairs, her footsteps measured as she entered the grand dining room. The table was set with pristine elegance. Crystal glasses, fine china, and polished silverware gleamed under the chandelier. The scent of carefully prepared food mingled with the subtle fragrance of fresh flowers arranged in crystal vases. Guests began arriving, Jonathan and Diana Henderson, impeccably dressed and radiating influence; Charlotte Winters, poised and confident; James Peterson, quietly observing from the corner; and a handful of others whose names Clara had dropped often in her recent conversations. The room buzzed with polite chatter and warm greetings, yet beneath the surface a subtle tension simmered. Clara greeted each guest with practiced charm, guiding conversations toward Ethan's hospital project and the upcoming gala committee. Amelia quietly took her assigned place near the sideboard, tasked with serving drinks and appetizers in her uniform. The stark contrast to her previous life striking all who knew her. As Amelia moved gracefully around the room, serving champagne and canapes, she caught fragments of conversations, plans for fundraising, discussions of community impact, whispered endorsements. Her presence as Clara's nanny was met with curious glances and barely concealed disbelief from some guests, recognition flickering in their eyes when they recalled who she really was. Jonathan Henderson approached her with a warm smile, his eyes reflecting respect and a hint of surprise. Amelia, it's been far too long. The hospital board hasn't been the same without your guidance. Amelia returned his smile, steady and composed. Jonathan, it's good to see you again. The pediatric wing we helped develop continues to save lives, thanks to your expertise. Diana Henderson joined them, her expression equally warm. Amelia, you're a pillar of this community. It's a shame that your circumstances have changed, but your impact remains profound. Clara, overhearing snippets of this conversation, felt a flicker of unease. Her carefully constructed narrative of Amelia's diminished role was unraveling before her eyes. She watched as guests gravitated toward Amelia, their admiration evident. The evening progressed, and the meal was served. Between courses, conversations deepened. Amelia shared anecdotes of her educational programs, her voice confident and engaging. Her knowledge of the hospital board's history and community initiatives impressed the guests, some of whom leaned in to listen more closely. Clara found herself sidelined, her attempts to redirect conversations toward real estate and development projects faltering. The social dynamics had shifted, and she felt the sting of exclusion. When dessert arrived, a chocolate souffle carefully prepared by Amelia, a recipe once favored by Diana at board meetings, the tension reached a peak. Diana's eyes lit up as Amelia presented the dish. Amelia, you remembered. No one makes souffle like you do. A perfect touch for tonight. The guests murmured their appreciation, and Clara's fork clattered against her plate. She forced a smile, but struggled to conceal her frustration. After dinner, as guests mingled in the sitting room, Diana pulled Amelia aside. I want to talk about the gala committee, she said quietly. We're restructuring this year, focusing on members who show exceptional community values, particularly those involved in family and elder care. Clara, listening nearby, froze. Diana continued. The hospital is launching a major elder care initiative, and we could use your expertise as a consultant. The position comes with a stipend. Clara's face tightened. Mom is busy with her responsibilities here, she said stiffly. Diana smiled knowingly. Accommodations can be made for such important work. After all, family support works both ways. Clara's facade faltered briefly before she regained composure. Later that night, after the guests had left, Clara confronted Amelia in the kitchen. Her voice was low but fierce. What did you say to Diana? You undermine me. The gala committee is crucial to my real estate connections. Amelia met her daughter's gaze steadily. I told the truth. Diana was curious about my situation. I said nothing untrue. Clara's frustration boiled over. Tonight was supposed to go differently. Ethan's meeting with Jonathan was overshadowed by everyone fawning over your past. Amelia shrugged gently. I cannot control what others choose to discuss. As Amelia began clearing the table, she overheard Ethan's muttered words to Clara. Jonathan barely engaged on the proposal, kept steering back to community needs and ethics. Amelia smiled inwardly. The social consequences had begun. The following week brought new challenges. Invitations to Diana's garden party arrived, extended only to Amelia and select community leaders. Clara was notably excluded. Amelia prepared with quiet satisfaction, donning a simple but elegant blue dress. A stark contrast to the uniform she wore at home. Clara's surprise was evident. Going out? I didn't know you had plans. Diana invited me, Amelia replied calmly. A reunion with former colleagues. Clara's expression shifted rapidly between shock and calculation. Perhaps I should come with you for support. Amelia met her gaze in the mirror. Diana's guest list is specific, Clara. Family members aren't included. The unspoken message was clear, and Clara's smile was brittle. At Diana's party, Amelia was warmly welcomed and celebrated. Former colleagues approached her with admiration, recalling her leadership and mentorship. Conversations circled around the educational foundation she had helped build, and the programs she now led. Margaret Whitmore, chair of the real estate board, approached Amelia with blunt candor. I can't believe Clara has you working as household staff, after all you did for her. Amelia responded diplomatically, acknowledging the burdens aging parents can represent. Margaret pressed, Burden? You put Clara through college on a principal's salary, worked through summers to support her studies. Burden, indeed. Amelia smiled, touched by the memory and support. Throughout the evening, Amelia's quiet dignity contrasted sharply with Clara's absence and growing social isolation. Back home, Clara's carefully planned garden luncheon began unraveling. Cancellations mounted. 27 guests withdrew, including key members of the real estate committee and social clubs. Amelia remained composed, arranging food and serving guests with professionalism. Clara's frustration grew as she watched her social aspirations collapse. When Diana's message arrived on Amelia's phone, confirming the success of the legacy luncheon, Amelia had declined, out of loyalty. Clara's face paled. The social consequences were unmistakable. In the quiet aftermath, Clara confronted Amelia with a mixture of anger and despair. Why did you do this? Why not just tell me how you felt? Amelia's reply was calm and resolute. I taught you to see the difference between words and actions. Your words said family support, but your actions treated me as a burden. I let the community see that truth. Clara's world crumbled. Invitations dwindled, clients disappeared, and her social standing plummeted. Amelia, meanwhile, found renewed purpose in her community work and reclaimed her independence with Diana's support. This was only the beginning. The lessons Amelia delivered were harsh but necessary, a reckoning not just for Clara, but for the values that defined family, dignity, and respect. The city watched closely as a mother, once sidelined and dismissed, reclaimed her voice and place in the world. And a daughter learned, through painful consequences, the true meaning of family. The aftermath of the garden luncheon was a quiet storm that rippled through every corner of Clara Harding's carefully constructed world. What had been a meticulously planned social event designed to showcase her status among Westfield's elite and solidify her professional networks had crumbled into an embarrassing fiasco. Invitations dwindled to a mere handful of guests, mostly newcomers without deep roots in the community, and the echo of polite, awkward conversations filled the expansive rooms of her immaculate home. Clara sat alone at the head table, her fingers trembling slightly as she stared at the elaborate floral centerpiece she had selected weeks in advance. The weight of her failures pressed down on her chest. All around her, the remnants of what should have been a triumphant social gathering lay untouched, plates of food barely tasted, glasses half full, and empty chairs that told the story of a gathering abandoned. Meanwhile, Amelia Harding moved through the evening with quiet grace, no longer playing the part of the humble servant, but instead embracing her role as a dignified woman who had endured too much to be silenced. Her uniform, once a symbol of her diminished role, now seemed almost irrelevant in the face of her unwavering presence. She wasn't just a nanny, she was a beacon of strength and resilience, a living testament to the values Clara had tried to erase. As the evening unfolded, several guests made tentative attempts to engage Amelia directly. Many struggled to reconcile the woman they had once admired as a formidable educational leader with the uniformed figure serving canapes. Jennifer Hayes, a relatively new Westfield resident whose daughter attended Amelia's former school, approached hesitantly. "Principal Harding, Mrs. Harding, I'm sorry, how should I address you?" Jennifer asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Amelia is fine," Amelia replied, warmly, offering the dessert tray with a genuine smile. Jennifer's eyes sparkled with admiration. "My daughter Mackenzie received the scholarship you established before retiring, the one for young women pursuing careers in education. I didn't realize you were Clara's mother." Clara, overhearing the conversation, stiffened visibly. The social divide between mother and daughter was more evident than ever. "How wonderful about Mackenzie," Amelia said sincerely. "The future depends on bright young minds like hers." Jennifer added, "The Scholarship Foundation is honoring you at their fall gala. They've been trying to reach you." Amelia smiled faintly. "I've been busy, but perhaps they can contact Diana Henderson. She's been helping me reconnect with my professional contacts." The subtle mention of Diana and the competing luncheon hung in the air like a storm cloud. Clara quickly steered the conversation towards safer topics, but the damage had been done. The social tide was turning, and Clara was losing ground. By mid-afternoon, the garden was nearly deserted. The catering staff packed away mostly untouched food, and Clara sat alone, her once confident demeanor replaced by a haunted, vacant expression. The careful veneer of control she had maintained was cracking, revealing the raw anxiety beneath. Amelia approached quietly, no longer performing hostess duties, but simply offering kindness. "Would you like some tea?" she asked gently. Clara looked up, her eyes reflecting a complicated mixture of anger, humiliation, and dawning comprehension. "Why? Why did you do this instead of just telling me how you felt?" Clara's voice trembled. "I raised you to see the difference between words and actions," Amelia replied softly. "Your words said family sport, but your actions treated me as a burden to be managed. I simply let your community see that truth." Clara's world seemed to unravel. "You've destroyed my standing in Westfield, the real estate committee, the garden club, the country club memberships. They're all gone." "Perhaps," Amelia said gently, "this is a moment to reconsider what truly matters: status and social climbing, or family connections that transcend wealth and reputation." Clara's phone chimed. She glanced at it and closed her eyes briefly. Ethan's development project has been officially declined by the hospital board. Jonathan Henderson cited misalignment with community values. Amelia felt a pang of sympathy for Ethan, a peripheral figure in the family's drama, but unwilling to intervene. "I'm sorry things unfolded this way," Amelia said sincerely. Justice, she reminded herself, was not the same as revenge. Clara's frustration boiled over. You systematically turned my social connections against me, undermined my professional relationships, publicly humiliated me. Amelia met her daughter's gaze steadily. I allowed the community to see how you treat family. Their responses are their own, not orchestrated by me. Leaning closer, Amelia added, I did this while caring for your children, maintaining your home, supporting your life. I fulfilled every duty you gave me, even as you reduced me to a servant. The irony wasn't lost on Clara. A flicker of shame crossed her face before defensiveness returned. What happens now? More public humiliation? More sabotage? That depends on you, Amelia replied firmly. The offer from Diana Henderson to coordinate the hospital's intergenerational program remained open, and Amelia had decided to accept. The salary will allow me to rent my own apartment, regain my independence, she told Clara. You're leaving? Clara's voice cracked. Establishing boundaries. This arrangement isn't healthy for any of us. The children adore you. I'll always be their grandmother. Our relationship will continue, but on equitable terms. I'll be family, not staff. Clara was left to absorb the implications alone. In the days that followed, a tense silence hung over Clara's home. Amelia packed her belongings in the guest room, a space that had never truly felt like hers. Her suitcase contained more than clothes. It held hope, resolve, and a reclaimed sense of self-worth. Messages flooded her phone from community members who had attended Diana's luncheon. Warm words, invitations to rejoin boards, offers of support, tokens of respect and recognition Amelia had long earned but lost sight of in her daughter's home. The contrast between the community's embrace of Amelia and its judgment of Clara could not have been starker. Amelia's relationships had been built on mutual respect and genuine care, while Clara's had been transactional, fragile, and ultimately hollow. One message from Diana stood out. The Legacy Luncheon was a tremendous success. Everyone sends love and support. The hospital board officially approved your position. Start when you're ready. Amelia, you are valued, not for what you do, but for who you are. Reading those words, a knot of hurt began to unravel inside Amelia's heart, replaced by a comforting sense of validation. Late that evening, a soft knock interrupted Amelia's reverie. Sophie, her 10-year-old granddaughter, stood quietly in the doorway, clad in pajamas. "Grandma," Sophie said softly, "Mom said you're leaving tomorrow." Amelia's heart tightened. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm getting my own apartment nearby because Mom made you be our nanny instead of just your grandma." Sophie's insight startled Amelia. "It's complicated, Sophie," she began. "Not really," Sophie said, twisting the end of her braid, a gesture Amelia recognized as distinctly Clara's. "Mom treated you like an employee when you needed family. That's why everyone is mad at her now." Children often cut through adult complexities with startling clarity. "How do you know people are mad at Mom?" Amelia asked. "I heard her talking to Dad, and Mrs. Hayes said something about Mom making you wear a uniform." She looked uncomfortable. Sophie's gaze was direct, wise beyond her years. "You used to be the principal. You helped lots of people. And then Mom made you serve desserts when you needed help instead." Amelia sighed and patted the bed beside her. Sophie climbed up, leaning against her shoulder. The gesture stirred a bittersweet ache. "Your mother and I need to work some things out," Amelia said carefully. "But that doesn't change my relationship with you, Max, and Ella. I'll always be your grandmother, no matter where I live." "Will we still see you?" Sophie asked. "Of course," Amelia promised, "and you'll be close and you can visit any time. We'll have special grandmother-grandchildren days." Sophie thought for a moment, then nodded decisively. "That's better anyway. Mom's always telling you what to do. Here, in your own place, you can be in charge again." Her perceptiveness nearly brought tears to Amelia's eyes. "That's right," she whispered. "Now go to bed before your mom checks on you," Amelia said with a small smile. Later that night, Amelia sat alone, gazing at her partially packed suitcase. Tomorrow marked a new chapter. Independence regained, dignity restored, and professional value reaffirmed. Her relationship with Clara would never be the same. What had been easy and natural was now cautious and conditional. Was the lesson she had taught too harsh? Were the consequences too severe? She thought of Clara's cold dismissal. "I don't feed extra mouths." The uniform presented with her businesslike efficiency, the rigid boundaries imposed to mark Amelia as staff, not family. Yes, the lesson was harsh, but it matched Clara's callousness. Perhaps with time it would lead to true understanding rather than mere compliance. Amelia hoped Clara might one day grasp the deeper meaning, not just the social consequences, but the fundamental truth. Human worth transcends economics, and family bonds, when healthy, provide unconditional safety. That painful lesson was one Clara urgently needed, not only for Amelia's sake, but for her own humanity and the values she would pass to her children. The city's community center auditorium filled to capacity for the Educational Legacy Foundation's annual scholarship gala. From her place at the head table, Amelia scanned the familiar faces: former students, teachers, parents, board members, community leaders. The intergenerational program she now directed at the hospital had become a regional model. Tonight, the foundation celebrated its success and awarded scholarships to promising educators continuing the work Amelia had begun decades ago. The foundation had named its premier award after her, the Amelia Harding Excellence in Education Scholarship, a recognition that still felt surreal. Diana Henderson, radiant in emerald green, leaned toward Amelia. "The turnout is remarkable. We had to add 3 extra tables at the last minute. It's for a worthy cause." Amelia downplayed the accolades. "Supporting the next generation benefits the entire community," Diana smiled. "True, but they're also here for you. Your return has been the talk of Westfield for months." Amelia's gaze scanned the room again, catching her grandchildren's excited faces near the back. Beside them sat Ethan, uncomfortable but engaged. Clara's seat remained empty. Since Amelia left Clara's home 6 months prior, their relationship consisted mostly of polite, cautious exchanges during child handoffs. Clara had not apologized for her earlier treatment, but had grown more reserved, perhaps from social necessity rather than remorse. Westfield's judgment had been swift and clear. Treating family as disposable was unacceptable. Clara's real estate business suffered as clients pulled away. Social invitations became rare. Country club membership denied. Amelia found new purpose, rebuilding her life, nurturing relationships with family and the community, establishing healthy boundaries. Her grandchildren flourished in the new atmosphere, their bond with her stronger and freer. Ethan, once aloof, made awkward but genuine efforts to maintain civility. Amelia's journey from dismissed matriarch to celebrated community leader was nearly complete. Several months had passed since Amelia Harding had quietly reclaimed her dignity by stepping away from the household where she had once been her daughter's mother and had become her employee. The days of serving in a gray uniform, the evenings spent as a silent witness to Clara's ambition, were behind her now. Yet, the echoes of those moments continued to reverberate, shaping the lives and relationships of everyone involved. The community of Westfield had been a silent witness to the unfolding drama, a judge of values and character that did not tolerate the diminution of family bonds for the sake of social climbing. The consequences Clara faced were severe and public. Business deals fell through, social invitations waned, and her reputation suffered under the weight of whispered judgments and pointed glances. But amid this upheaval, something unexpected was also emerging: possibility. A fragile thread of hope wound its way between mother and daughter, stretched taut by pain, but never broken. The first sign of genuine change came one crisp autumn afternoon. Amelia was seated in her modest but warm apartment, the sun filtering through lace curtains and illuminating photographs and mementos of a lifetime of teaching and community service. The phone rang, a call from Clara. "Mom," Clara's voice was tentative, vulnerable even. "I want to come see you. We need to talk." Amelia set the phone down slowly, a mixture of anticipation and caution settling over her. This wasn't the first time Clara had reached out with tentative gestures, but something in her tone suggested this was different. When Clara arrived that afternoon, the woman who stepped through the door was not the polished real estate agent who had once wielded power with a brittle smile. She was quieter, more reflective, and visibly changed. They sat across from each other in the cozy living room, the silence thick at first. "I'm sorry," Clara began, her voice shaking slightly, "for everything, for how I treated you, for forgetting what family means." Amelia looked at her daughter, memories of the girl she had raised flashing through her mind. The laughter, the tears, the hopes. She saw not only the woman before her, but the child she had nurtured. "It's a start," Amelia said softly. "Apologies mean little without change, Clara, but I believe you mean it." They talked for hours, peeling back layers of hurt and misunderstanding. Clara confessed the pressures she had faced, the weight of maintaining appearances, the fear of vulnerability, the desperate need to be seen as successful. Amelia shared her own pain, the sting of rejection by her child, the loss of independence, and the resilience forged in the crucible of adversity. The days that followed saw cautious steps toward rebuilding their fractured relationship. Clara began to attend family gatherings, not as a hostess consumed by status, but as a daughter seeking connection. Amelia, in turn, opened her home and heart, offering forgiveness without forgetting. The grandchildren flourished in this new atmosphere. Sophie's pride in her grandmother grew with each shared story of Amelia's impact on the community. Max's musical talents were nurtured with Amelia's gentle encouragement, and Ella's infectious laughter echoed through the apartment as she spent weekends with her grandmother. Amelia's presence became a constant, not an intrusion, a source of stability and love. The balance shifted from one of power and control to mutual respect and affection. Clara's professional life also began to reflect her personal growth. She sought counseling to address her insecurities and patterns of behavior. Slowly, her real estate business began to recover as she rebuilt trust with clients and colleagues, demonstrating authenticity rather than calculated charm. Meanwhile, Amelia's role at the hospital grew. The intergenerational program she coordinated blossomed into a beacon of community cohesion. linking elderly residents with local schools in mutually enriching ways. Her strategic mind, once sidelined, was now integral to initiatives that fostered well-being and connection across generations. Her leadership attracted regional attention, and invitations to speak and consult poured in. Amelia found renewed purpose, a platform to continue the work she had dedicated her life to, and the respect she had always deserved. Her modest apartment became a gathering place for friends, family, and colleagues, a hub of warmth and inspiration. Despite the progress, the wounds of the past were not forgotten. Clara occasionally faltered, moments of doubt and old habits creeping in. Amelia, with her characteristic wisdom, guided her daughter gently but firmly, reminding her that true success came not from external validation, but from integrity and compassion. Their conversations often revisited the pivotal moments: the uniform, the harsh words, the social exile, and the lessons learned. Amelia never allowed bitterness to cloud her guidance, emphasizing the power of accountability and growth. Clara, in turn, worked to make amends beyond their relationship. She reached out to others she had alienated in her quest for status, offering apologies and gestures of goodwill. The process was slow and sometimes painful, but it marked a new chapter in her life. The Westfield community, too, reflected the shifting dynamics. Amelia's return to public life inspired renewed respect for the values she embodied. The scholarship in her name flourished, empowering young educators who carried forward her vision. Clara's social standing slowly rebuilt on a foundation of authenticity rather than pretense. Invitations to events returned, now grounded in genuine relationships rather than strategic maneuvering. The once rigid social circles began to embrace a more inclusive spirit, valuing compassion and connection. One crisp evening, Amelia and Clara sat together in the cozy living room of Amelia's apartment. Surrounded by photographs and mementos, they reflected on the journey they had traveled, one marked by pain, lessons, and ultimately, healing. "Thank you," Clara said quietly, "for teaching me what family really means, for never giving up on me." Amelia smiled, eyes glistening with emotion. "We all stumble, Clara. What matters is how we rise." Their hands clasped, bridging years of hurt and hope. Outside, the city lights twinkled, a symbol of new beginnings and enduring bonds. The seasons continued to turn, casting their gentle rhythms over Westfield as Amelia Harding settled into a life that was once unimaginable. A life marked by renewed dignity, reclaimed independence, and a cautiously mended relationship with her daughter Clara. What had once been a fractured family, torn apart by misunderstanding, pride, and unspoken resentments, now began the delicate process of healing, rebuilding, and forging new paths. Amelia's modest apartment, situated near the hospital where she worked, became more than just a place to live. It was a sanctuary, a symbol of her resilience and autonomy. The walls, adorned with photographs of former students, community events, and family moments, reflected a life dedicated to service and love. Friends, neighbors, and colleagues visited regularly, filling the space with laughter, conversation, and warmth. Amelia's new role as coordinator of the hospital's intergenerational programs flourished beyond all expectations. Her visionary leadership transformed the initiative into a model of community engagement, bridging generational divides and fostering empathy between the elderly and the youth. Schools partnered enthusiastically, seniors eagerly participated, and local leaders took notice. With each program launch, each successful event, Amelia's confidence and sense of purpose grew. Invitations to speak at conferences, consult on community health projects, and mentor emerging leaders poured in. She found herself once again at the center of a network that valued her wisdom and experience. a network she had nurtured for decades but had temporarily lost sight of. Clara, observing her mother's transformation, felt a mixture of pride, humility, and renewed respect. She recognized that the lessons Amelia had taught were not only about dignity, but also about the power of perseverance and the grace of forgiveness. The fragile threads of family connection, strained but not broken, wove themselves back into a tapestry of cautious reconciliation. Amelia and Clara engaged in honest, sometimes difficult conversations about the past. The mistakes made, the harsh words spoken, and the emotional wounds inflicted. Yet these talks were not mired in blame, but guided by a mutual desire to understand and heal. Clara began to redefine her own identity beyond social status and professional success. She sought counseling to address the insecurities that had fueled her earlier behavior, confronting fears of inadequacy and vulnerability. Her efforts to rebuild trust extended beyond Amelia to others she had alienated in her relentless pursuit of status. Family dinners became a sacred ritual, a time for shared stories, laughter, and connection. Sophie, Max, and Ella blossomed in the renewed atmosphere of love and acceptance. Their grandmother's consistent presence a source of strength and inspiration. Amelia's influence extended far beyond her immediate family. The intergenerational program became a beacon of hope and innovation in community health and education. Inspired by her leadership, similar initiatives sprouted in neighboring towns and cities, each adapted to local needs but rooted in the principles Amelia championed. Her story, of resilience in the face of adversity, dignity preserved through hardship, and the power of community, resonated with many. She was invited to speak at national forums, write for educational journals, and consult with nonprofit organizations. Each engagement further cemented her legacy as an educator and advocate. The scholarship bearing her name continued to empower young educators, opening doors for countless students who might otherwise have been overlooked. Amelia took immense pride in knowing that her life's work would endure, shaping future generations long after she was gone. Clara's path was neither smooth nor swift. The consequences of her earlier choices weighed heavily on her professional and social life. The loss of key clients, diminished invitations, and strained friendships challenged her deeply. Yet Clara faced these challenges with newfound humility. She took deliberate steps to make amends, reaching out with genuine apologies and acts of kindness. Slowly, she rebuilt her reputation on foundations of authenticity and integrity rather than calculated image. Her business recovered as clients returned, drawn not only by her expertise, but by the evident changes in her character. Social invitations began to flow again, now rooted in sincere relationships rather than transactional networking. Clara's personal growth was perhaps the most profound legacy of Amelia's lesson. A transformation from entitlement and control to compassion and self-awareness. The relationship between Amelia and Clara, once marked by pain and distance, evolved into a partnership of mutual respect and love. They learned to navigate boundaries with grace, honoring each other's autonomy while cherishing their bond. Special family gatherings became occasions of joy and connection. Amelia's stories of perseverance and community service inspired not only her grandchildren, but also friends and neighbors, weaving a rich tapestry of shared history and hope. Ethan, too, found a more balanced role, recognizing the importance of emotional presence alongside professional ambition. His relationship with Amelia softened, becoming one of respect and genuine warmth. Together, the family forged a new narrative, one that honored past struggles but focused on healing and future promise. Westfield, once a stage for judgment and exclusion, gradually transformed into a community that celebrated resilience, authenticity, and unconditional support. Amelia's return to public life and Clara's redemption became emblematic of this shift. The city's leaders, educators, and residents embraced the values Amelia embodied: dignity beyond economic worth, family as a foundation of unconditional love, and the courage to face one's flaws and grow. Annual events like the Scholarship Gala and Intergenerational Program became highlights of the community calendar, drawing people together across divides and generations. Amelia's legacy was no longer just her own. It belonged to Westfield, a beacon lighting the way for others. One quiet evening, Amelia and Clara sat together by the fireplace in Amelia's apartment, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. "Thank you," Clara said softly, tears glistening, "for never giving up on me, for teaching me the true meaning of family." Amelia smiled, eyes moist. "We all stumble. What matters is how we rise." Their hands clasped, a silent promise to nurture their renewed bond. Outside, the city lights twinkled, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of love.